I never believed in ghosts. That was until I started working the night shift at St. Dymphna Hospital. Built in 1892, it had once been an asylum before being converted into a general hospital. The older nurses whispered about the basement and a sealed-off wing called Ward 13. It wasn't on the current map. I assumed it was just some outdated storage space. Hospitals have ghosts the way libraries have dust, right? Part of the atmosphere. But something changed last week. I had just transferred to nights. Easier schedule, better pay. It was my third shift when the system went down. The power flickered at 2:13 a.m., and the backup lights buzzed on, casting everything in this sick yellow glow. I was alone at the nurses' station on the second floor, finishing paperwork, when a strange notification popped up on my screen. Patient status alert, room 1324, code white, ward 13. My fingers froze. There was no room 1324. Our floors only went up to 6, and no ward by that name had been active in years. I stared, half expecting the alert to vanish like a glitch. It didn't. Then I heard it, a soft buzz from the intercom. "Nurse, help me. I'm cold. I'm still here." The voice was brittle, like dry leaves. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Goosebumps prickled my arms. Curiosity, or maybe something deeper, pushed me. I grabbed my flashlight and ID badge and headed toward the elevator. My thumb hovered over the panel. No 13, of course not. But the moment I hit B for basement, the elevator lurched like it was resisting. Then it groaned and descended, past the basement. The digital display blinked 13. The doors opened to a hallway cloaked in shadow, far colder than the rest of the hospital. Dust hung like fog, thick and cloying. The scent of mildew and something metallic, blood, hit me hard. Everything looked abandoned, peeling paint, rusty gurneys. A wheelchair sat in the middle of the hall, slowly turning on its own, one wheel squeaking. I should have turned back, but I didn't. I walked slowly, the sound of my footsteps echoing unnaturally. Then I saw it, room 1324. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. Inside was a single bed, an IV stand, and something lying beneath the sheet. "Nurse," the voice rasped again. "You're late." I blanked. The sheet moved. I approached and slowly pulled it down. It was a woman. Her skin was gray, her eyes cloudy but open. A patient bracelet clung to her wrist. Mary Holstead. Admitted October 13th, 1973. Status: deceased. I stumbled back. My heart punched against my ribs. This had to be a joke, some elaborate prank. Her mouth twitched. "They forgot me. All of them. Locked us here. Said we were sick, but we weren't." She raised a hand and gripped my wrist. Her touch was ice. "Don't leave me here," she hissed. "They're coming." The lights above flickered violently. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy, dragging, and another sound. Metal scraping against the floor. Mary's eyes went wide. "Hide." I dove behind a supply cabinet just as the door creaked open again. A man entered, tall, dressed in a blood-stained lab coat. His face was wrapped in gauze, only one eye visible. He dragged a rusted bone saw in one hand. He walked to the bed. The woman didn't move. "I told you to stay quiet, Mary," he said in a muffled voice. "You ruined everything. You always ruin everything." Mary began to whimper. He raised the saw. I couldn't watch. I couldn't breathe. But then he turned and looked straight at where I was hiding. "You're new," he growled. "Another nurse. They keep sending more." The lights went out. pitch black. I bolted, ran blindly down the hallway, tripping over debris, smashing into walls. I heard the saw screeching against metal as he pursued me. The elevator wasn't where I left it, only a red exit sign at the far end of the hall. I ran. Something yanked at my ankle. I kicked and screamed, barely escaping its grasp. I burst through the exit door and up a flight of narrow stairs, lungs burning. I emerged in the ER. Bright lights, beeping monitors, voices. I collapsed. The on-call doctor found me shaking on the floor. "You all right?" he asked. "Where the hell did you come from?" "Ward 13, I panted. "Room 1324. He went pale. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking. There was a woman, Mary Halstead. She's still down there. And someone, a man in a coat." He cut me off. Ward 13 was sealed in 1981, after the fire. There were no survivors, not even staff. I shook my head. "No, she was alive. She spoke to me." The doctor turned away. "You need rest. I'll call psych." They didn't believe me. I quit the next day. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear the intercom crackle with static. "Nurse, please, don't forget me." And I can't stop thinking about Mary Halstead, still lying in that room, still waiting, still cold, and worse, not alone.
I never liked hospitals. Even after graduating from nursing school, the sterile smell, the flickering fluorescent lights, and the eerie silence after visiting hours always made my skin crawl. So, when I was asked to cover a late-night shift in the radiology department of St. Alora's Hospital, I hesitated, but agreed. The regular night nurse had called out sick. "It's just one night," they told me. "All you need to do is monitor the imaging room, log any walk-ins, and assist if needed." Simple enough. I arrived around 11 p.m. The radiology wing was in the oldest part of the hospital, lower level beneath the emergency ward. The hallway was narrow and dim, with linoleum floors that creaked no matter how lightly you stepped. The main imaging room had 2 scanners, one MRI and one old CT machine that looked like it belonged in a museum. There were no scheduled patients that night. I sat at the front desk, scrolling through my phone and sipping cold coffee, occasionally glancing at the monitors. Then, at 2:06 a.m., the automatic door slid open. I didn't hear footsteps, just a sharp gust of cold air, like someone had opened a freezer. I stood up and looked around. Hello? No one. I returned to my seat, thinking it was just a draft, but then the CT scanner turned on by itself. Its humming filled the room. I walked over, frowning. The machine's interface showed scanning in progress, but no patient was inside. The bed was empty. I backed away slowly. This has to be a glitch. Then the lights flickered. The machine stopped. The screen changed. Patient unknown. Scan complete. 02:08 a.m. Images saved. One file, ID 666132. My heart skipped. That wasn't a normal patient ID. Suddenly, the lights went out completely. Only the soft glow of the monitor remained. My reflection stared back at me from the black screen, except it wasn't quite right. There was someone behind me. I spun around. Nothing. But when I turned back, the monitor now showed the scan. It was a head. No, a skull. But not human. It looked deformed. The eye sockets were uneven, the jaw dislocated, and inside the skull there was a dark mass, pulsing. The image began to move. It shouldn't have. CT scans don't move. Then the sound came, a distorted whisper. right next to my ear. I never finished the scan. I screamed and backed into the supply cabinet, knocking over a tray of lead aprons. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, slow, dragging steps. I peeked through the glass of the imaging room door.
A figure walked by, wearing a hospital gown. Its back was open, revealing grayish skin marked with burned-in scan patterns like someone had tried to tattoo an X-ray on flesh. Its head tilted unnaturally as it passed. And then it stopped, right at the door. I held my breath. The door slowly creaked open. I grabbed a portable defibrillator and held it like a weapon. "Stay back," I shouted. The figure stepped into the light. Its face was a blur, like static on an old TV. It opened its mouth, and instead of words, it released a sound like a high-pitched shriek mixed with a fax machine. I dropped the defibrillator and ran. The hallway twisted. I swear it changed behind me, like I was being led somewhere. I passed rooms that weren't there before. Radiology, B, scan archive, echo storage, rooms I had never seen on the map. I reached the main security door, slammed my badge on the scanner, but it blinked red. Denied. On the wall next to the door, a screen lit up. Scan not complete. Please return to room 13. Room 13? There was no room 13 in radiology. I looked behind me. The hallway was gone. Only one door remained. Room 13. I felt my feet move against my will, like something was pulling me towards it. I tried to fight it, to turn away, but the cold grew stronger, so intense it burned. I opened the door. Inside, a single CT scanner. Lights off, silent. But there was a shape lying on the bed. Me. It was me lying inside the scanner. Eyes closed, chest unmoving. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I staggered forward, trying to wake myself up, trying to scream, but my voice was gone. The scanner started again. It hummed louder. The air turned electric. Then the whisper returned, this time from inside me. Now the scan is complete. I woke up in the hospital ER. Daylight. A doctor was leaning over me. "You had a seizure," he said. "They found you unconscious in the radiology wing. You're lucky the technician came early." I sat up, trembling. "The scan, room 13, the figure." The doctor frowned. "There's no room 13. That wing only goes up to 12. I insisted, demanded to see the footage. But the security cameras had gone offline at exactly 2:06 a.m., the time the unknown scan started. They chalked it up to stress, lack of sleep. But now, sometimes, I catch my reflection in mirrors or screens, and it's not quite right. Like I'm looking at a copy, a scanned version of myself. And every night at 2:06 a.m., I wake up because I hear that same voice. I never left room 13. They never assigned patients to room 309. It was always locked. The nurses said it was under renovation, but I'd been working at Hollow Creek Hospital for nearly 6 months, and not once had I seen a worker go in or out. No tools, no repairs, nothing. Just silence. Until last Tuesday night. I was on a double shift, covering the East Wing. Around 3:15 a.m., while checking vitals on the 3rd floor, I passed room 309. Something made me stop. A sound, barely audible, like someone whispering behind the door. I froze. It wasn't the air vent. It wasn't the floor creaking. It was a voice, low, raspy, repeating something I couldn't make out. I pressed my ear to the door. "Open it, please. It's so cold." I stumbled back. I told myself I imagined it. Long hours, sleep deprivation. Hospitals play tricks on tired minds. I left the hallway quickly and didn't return. But the next night, it happened again. Different voice, same door. "He's here with me now, under the bed." This time, I ran. I reported it to Dr. Lang, the attending that night. She just stared at me for a long second and said, "309 is sealed for a reason. Stay away from it." That was it. No explanation. I asked one of the older nurses, Carmen. She leaned in and whispered like she was afraid someone might hear. They used to assign patients there, but every person who stayed in 309 died. All of them. Within hours. I laughed nervously. "Come on." "I'm serious," she said. "The last patient they put in that room, a man who came in for a sprained ankle, they found him the next morning in pieces. No one entered or exited. The door was still locked from the inside." I didn't sleep that night. On the third night, things changed. I was passing by 309 again, foolishly curious, I guess, when I saw the door was open, just a crack. The hallway was empty. No footsteps, no noise, just that thin sliver of darkness from the room. And something moved inside. I should have kept walking. I should have minded my business. But I didn't. I pushed the door open slowly. The room was pitch black, except for the faint blinking of a heart monitor. There was a bed, clean, made, empty. But the monitor showed a heartbeat. 74 BPM. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me with a soft click. I froze, turned around, tried the handle. Locked. Panic set in fast. I pounded on the door. "Hello? Anyone there?" No answer. Then the monitor beeped faster. 75, 77, 80. And the lights flickered on. For half a second, I saw something sitting under the bed. A shadow, not shaped like anything human. Too long, too thin. The beeping stopped. The room went dark again, and a voice said, "You opened the door." I don't remember how I got out. They said they found me passed out in the hallway, trembling, mumbling something over and over. I don't even recall what it was. Maybe I don't want to. But now, I'm never alone. Even when I go home, I hear the monitor, the beeping. Sometimes I wake up and see the number 309 glowing faintly on my bedroom wall, like it's burned into my vision. Yesterday, I checked the hospital registry. Room 309 was never officially listed in the current floor plan. It shouldn't exist, but it does. And every night, I dream of the thing under the bed, waiting. And its voice gets clearer. There's room for one more. They told me it was just a malfunction in the system, an error, a false alarm. But I know what I saw, and no one's going to convince me otherwise. I was on the night shift at Ridgefield General, assigned to the ICU. It was a quiet night until exactly 2:11 a.m., when the hospital speakers crackled and an automated voice echoed through the halls. "Code Black, Room 6B, immediate response required." I froze. We never use Code Black. It's not part of our system anymore. It was retired years ago, something from the old protocol when the psych ward was still open. But 6B? That room hadn't been in use since the fire in 2009. And yet, the voice was clear. Room 6B, immediate response. I radioed the security desk. They didn't call it in. No alarms triggered, no systems breached, nothing. But I felt something. Deep, bone-chilling dread, like the air had turned heavier. Still, my curiosity got the better of me. I took the long hallway down to the south wing where 6B was located. The lights were dimmer there, flickering as if the power had trouble holding on. As I turned the corner, I saw the door to 6B was wide open. Dust in the air, peeling paint, the faint stench of smoke, and something far worse, rotting flesh. I stepped in. Inside, everything looked untouched, like the fire had frozen time. Burned bed frame, melted IV pole, scorched ceiling tiles, and, in the far corner, a blackened wheelchair, turned away from the door, facing the window. And then it moved, not rolled, not shaken, turned, slowly, deliberately, facing me. I couldn't breathe. Something sat in it, black, burned, but breathing. The only sound was the faint beeping of a monitor that wasn't even plugged in. I turned to run, but the door slammed shut behind me. I fumbled for the handle. Locked. The beeping grew louder, faster. Then I heard the voice. "Why didn't you help me?" It was a whisper that came from inside my skull, vibrating through my teeth, freezing my blood. The air went thick. The light overhead flickered violently and exploded, plunging me into darkness. Suddenly, I was somewhere else. Not the hospital, not the room. I was inside the fire. Flames surrounded me. The walls groaned, and I saw a patient strapped to the bed in room 6B, his skin melting, his screams silent. He looked straight at me and mouthed, "You let me burn." I shut my eyes and screamed. When I opened them, I was back in the room. The fire was gone. The wheelchair was empty. The door creaked open on its own. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the ER, panting and soaked in sweat. The head nurse looked up and blinked. "Where have you been?" she said. "You disappeared for over 2 hours." It had only felt like minutes. They said I must have blacked out, stress, exhaustion, maybe even a seizure. But I know what happened. The next day, I checked the hospital archives. Room 6B had belonged to a psych patient named Gregory Hale. He set the fire himself, trapped in restraints, left to die when staff couldn't reach him in time. Last logged note on his file: Code Black initiated, response delayed, patient perished. Now, every night at 2:11 a.m., I hear it again, even when I'm home. Code Black, room 6B, immediate response required. I don't think it'll stop until I answer it one last time.